Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ignite Your Heart and Soul, right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com with me, Sarah Troy, and my guest, Esther. She's in Australia, Melbourne to be exact. But we're going to be talking about the archetypes, the Major Arcana. And what do archetypes mean? You know, what does it mean to us right now? How is it helping us navigate at the present moment? How does it help our communities? And we have got so much to learn here. You know, the tarot is a guiding tool for her as well. And, you know, it helps us kind of walk our human path. And so what are we looking at in the social and political history and the cultural mythology? And even if you are very adventurous in our galactic family, we're going galactic today, folks, so hold on to your seats. And she has a doctorate in philosophy and numerous qualifications in the healing arts, but I'm going to say hearts. And she's just completed her first book, The Map, Archetypes of the Major Arcana, and will be available at the end of the year. Bravo for getting a book out in this time. I've been trying to do that for the last 3 or 4 years. Never seems to be enough time. Welcome to the show, love.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Is amazing. So I really feel delighted to be here. Thank you.
Oh, it's delighted to have you here. And everything happens when it's meant to, right? So that is the important thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We have time changes here, folks. Australia, Canada. Sometimes we get confused.
We did have a little mishap, which was totally on me. So
it was just, again, you're here when you're meant to be here, and that's the way it goes. So that's the important thing.
Thank you.
Now, for people who don't really understand what the archetypes are, or, you know, what the Major Arcana, if I'm pronouncing it right, means, would you kind of go into that a little bit of, you know, what it means and kind of what you are doing with it, what it means to us as general human beings?
Sure. So there is 22 cards. So in the tarot deck complete, the original tarot deck, there's 78 cards. And they're broken up into suits, cups, swords, pentacles, and wands. But sort of as part of those 78 cards, you have 22 cards, which are called the Major Arcana. And these are really a map of the soul's journey through the earth plane. And the first card is the Fool, which represents the soul on earth. And then he meets all of these characters, or she meets all of these characters as she travels through the earth plane. And they all represent archetypes of the human psyche and of circumstance and thematic archetypes that we meet as we travel on our journey. And I find them very consistent human experiences that we have as we, you know, that are so universal to people as they travel through their life, you know.
We all need help on our journey. I'm a Romany gypsy reader, so I use ordinary playing cards and kind of gypsy cards.
Wow.
And you know, they're just
that's a bit special.
Yeah, no, it's actually fun. But you know, the thing is in a static world, it's very hard to get clarity through, and you can meditate and you can be still, and sometimes you get a mixed message, or you just don't know because there's just too much around you. And having these kind of cards or having this kind of direction just helps you navigate that next path. You know, oh no, I misread that. It really meant that. And we need that help along the way, because certainly times are very, very confusing. We really do not know what tomorrow is going to bring.
That's exactly right.
We are having a bit of a bandwidth problem, folks, so stay with us.
I think if you look up, I have a new puppy that I got in at the beginning of COVID, and she is just, I got her from the RSPCA, and she's lovely, but she's usually very quiet, but all of a sudden for this interview, she has just, she's
she wants
around,
to be in on it.
Sorry.
She
hear that voice in the background.
That's his opinion. He wants to be a part of it, right? And that's okay. We've got to learn to listen to our animals.
Wants to be a part of this. So sorry, what you were saying about the archetypes in the cards is so insightful, because really, I think if you don't study the tarot, or if you're not familiar with it, it can seem like this kind of magic trick, that people are just turning over these cards and, you're going to meet the love of your life, tall, dark, stranger, whatever it is next week. And that's a kind of a fun element that you can use them for as well. I'm not making any aspersions about that, but they are really a very well-structured set of doors that you can open to explore the themes of your life that have been the kind of stuff that humans have grappled with all through centuries, and they cross cultures as well. You see the same archetypes in Celtic mythology and Greek mythology and Egyptian mythology. It's really the same problems that we concern us. I think even Shakespeare, really, it's the love, death, loss, ambition, these types of not even, it's avenues to quest into to understand ourselves better. And I think you can also apply that to the political narratives and cultural narratives. So, for me, I think the card that I keep thinking about with 2020 is the Tower and the World. The Tower is some external force throws people's lives into complete disarray, and I even think we're living, if I had a deck of just towers for 2020, where, because I think we're just having one tower after another.
Yes.
Which is...
Sorry, folks, for having a bit of a problem. She'll be back with us in a moment.
Unsettling.
Okay, we had a hiccup there for a moment. Lovely internet drop, or which is not an ancestral language that we know of, but we want to hear her clearly in English. So, if you can pick that up without us having to battle that again, love.
It does actually sound like a bit of a galactic language there that you came up with.
Too much Star Trek.
So I think I was talking about it just being a tower year, and what is soothing about that is to recognize that the human experience is beset by external crises since time immemorial. This is not something, this is, it's one of the major arcana cards. Every life is going to have one, if not many, tower moments. The other card I think is really interesting for 2020 is the World card. That actually represents, if you're reading the tarot in time frames, a 20-year cycle, the end of a 20-year cycle. So often if you get that card, you might say to someone, what were you doing 20 years ago? Or is this the end of a 20-year cycle? And just that lovely symmetry of it being 2020. And I think the universality of what's been happening on the planet, we really are connected in a way by the virus and by, I suppose, the internet in ways that we can't unplug from.
Right.
And
don't want to, because it's proved to be so beneficial It's opened our eyes, it's opened our ears, it's opened our hearts, it's shown us other paths. You know, we're seeing our celebrities are having to do things from home, so we're seeing them in their natural habitat. They're more
That's
relaxed, we're hearing more truths and more depth. And, you know, and people are being able to book those Zoom calls when retrograde isn't in place, go, and having conversations with people. How many industries are not going to go back to the office that are going to be working from home? And how many opportunities does that open up for people to be more family orientated or take on other things? You know, we have to, although there is bad with all the deaths and suffering that's going out there, which is nothing to diminish at all, but we also have to look at as what is good out of this. And there are so many good things. And the fact that you talk about 20 cycle, 20 years ago in September, I split from my husband, and I've had quite an interesting 20 years of self-discovery since then. So I hope I'm paused for the next 20 years to have an upward scale, which is something I'd be very excited with if we're in that 20-year cycle.
Well, I just think you raised such a good point about being able to see the positives in the tower, because actually the tower card, when you look at it, it is not built, the tower is not built on a solid foundation. So the lightning that comes is actually, and I always think of that Leonard Cohen quote, there is a crack in everything, that's how the light gets in, you know? Light does come to explode what isn't working. You know, what is already unstable. And I do think we are so transformed already, and we don't realize it. You know, it has been, I mean, in Australia, I was in isolation for a while and then lockdown, and now in Melbourne we're in our second lockdown, and I have grown accustomed to a different timing, you know. And I'm fortunate enough to still have teaching from home, you know, opportunities. And I know that is not, there's so many people whose work is affected. But we are carving out, I think, a new way of being. And as to your 20-year cycle comments, it does absolutely mean it's the realization of the closing of the end of a chapter, and on to the next 20 years chapter, wiser, stronger, more beautiful than ever.
Good, because, you know, I'm turning 66 and I'd be like the next 20 years to be a little smoother for sure. I've got a lot to do, and I'd like it to be the wind with me in the next 20 years with the work I want to do, rather than kind of hurricaning me out cycle there.
Wow, you have amazing energy, 66. That's fantastic. Well done.
Oh, thank you. And not quite 60, October will be 66, so 65 and a half. I haven't got there yet. But
fantastic.
I mean, the last 20 years for me have been very, very interesting, because I had to not just transform myself, I had to rediscover myself. And I realized that the person that I was living was not me. I was not being authentic. I didn't know who I was. And so it was a journey of self-discovery of who am I? What is my instrument? How do I play it? Which orchestra do I join? You know, what's my meaningful purpose? And that 20 years has definitely been that. And I found this platform for me 8 years ago. And it's, you know, definitely been my calling and my niche and my voice and everybody else's voice that is in that orchestra right now. And for me, I just want to be able to take it to the next chapter with more ease. But it's interesting that you look at the 2020 and the 20-year cycle there, because we always look at cycles as kind of shorter. And then we think that things should happen quicker, but we don't realize things are happening. There may be seeding, or they maybe have shift you a little to the right, so you can go down this road and learn what you need to learn to then shift to the left. And so why hasn't it happened? It was meant to happen. I was given the vision. There's nothing wrong with it. The journey to completion of that vision is where you're going to gather the experience and the knowledge you need in order to bring the vision to fruition.
How true is that? It's as well, and I think we talk in the language of cycles, but we still think in a linear way.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
But really to understand in a cycle, there isn't a beginning or an end, but and you never arrive, but
Right.
there is a kind of a spiraling up or in of
Yeah.
insight,
Yes.
and growth and radium in what you have understood. And I suppose the kind of energy that you can hold and the insight that you develop. And but it is this kind of, we are very conditioned, I think, into thinking in a linear way, because it is just the nature of productive capitalism, really, to get things
But it's
done.
also the human cycle.
Yeah.
We get up, we eat, we go to work, we eat again, and then we go to work, and then we come home and we eat again, and we do an interaction, we do this and that, and we're back and repeat again. And,
Yes.
That's the thing, that's a human cycle of just maintaining the human vessel. But when you step into your spiritual, cosmic, soul, heart, and spirit cycle, you'll understand that even that cycle doesn't matter anymore. You'll do it, but it will not be a question of acknowledging it so much as because you understand that you're always in different cycles, and you can be doing different cycles simultaneously. It's not it's not like I'm doing this cycle, then that one. No, you could have a few things going, like those spinning plates.
Spinning plates. I know. I'm starting to go like this as I'm talking to you because I'm feeling the energy of that flow, so much. But it is, I think, that typical, that, they use a language to anima, animus, masculine, feminine, and in the tarot, the cyclical nature of life is represented by the Empress, and she is in her flowing, creative, abundant, abstract form. And then the Emperor, who is, much more linear, much more action focused, much more order focused, is, a bit more rigid, a bit more structured, and associated with things like valor and protection and order. So there is always that relationship, you're right, between order and chaos, masculine, feminine, cycle, linear. But I think it is reassuring to know that there, even when you're living your linear life, that you are part of a bigger cycle and a bigger matrix,
Yes. Oh God, I would hate to be everything on a straight line. I mean, I live in chaos. I also bring chaos. In the Celtic rooms, there's a room called Haglas, which is disruption. And I follow more the Celtic way of, because that's what speaks to me. Obviously, that's the way I've been going. And we have to have disruption in order to discover clarity. And, when it's like cleaning house, I didn't know, I'd lost that years ago, or, this makes me feel better with everything being cleaner. I'm now free to allow what needs to come in. And so we look at disruption, like the COVID right now, and it's like, oh, it's disrupted my life. No, it's a chance to kind of clean out old programming, old thoughts, old everything else. And this is a great opportunity to paint a new canvas.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, you're touching on what is the significance of the Tower card, because you have, I can just describe to you, if for people who don't know the tarot, but you have a tower perched on an unstable, rocky cliff's edge. And right up the top, you have two people living alone in isolation, So they're not connected to the world. They don't understand how precarious their position is. They've put themselves in a silo, and something from the outside has to burst them back into life, back into connection with the world. And I think it's such a beautiful metaphor for what is taking place on the planet, and absolutely never to diminish the horrendous circumstances that some people are faced with. But we have broken through to a new awareness of how we need to operate as communities, in that we can't contain ourselves in towers anymore. We affect each other. And what we do matters, and that's even internationally across borders. We can't kind of be in isolation from the consequences of the natural environment or other countries or our neighbours, or we're just all in this big churning
Energy.
unfolding energy together. Yeah. So I think it is really, and disruption is such a nice word that you're using with the runes. You know, it's a disruption that needs to happen to
Definitely.
rock the foundations that are not holding much up anymore.
Right. You know, I was given a saying a couple of years ago that the universe is here to shake us up, to wake us up, for us to step up and change it up.
Nice.
And I
Yeah.
think we're at that step up stage. You know, we've been
Yeah.
shaken and woken up by numerous things. You know, COVID, you had the fires last year. We're looking at Me Too movement and the environmental movement, and we're looking at Black Lives Matter. We're looking at everything that is wrong politically, emotionally, morally, and we're going, enough is enough. I don't know if you remember a movie, you're too young, but there was a movie back in the 70s, I think, called Network. And there's this guy just goes out the window and said, I've had enough. I just can't take it anymore. And I think this is Mama Earth right now saying this. And I think this is everybody inside of us screaming, saying, I can't take this anymore. We need the Empress. We need somebody who has better organization. We need somebody who knows how to clear up the chaos. We need somebody that comes from heart center, and we're desperate for that right now. So I think we're most certainly going into the era, if we're not already in the era of feminine.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I actually don't think there was such a longing for such a long time, I think, you know. I'm actually not as young as you think.
When you look at
it's just the camera. I think people look better on camera.
Disappointing when you get out there and you meet you in person. We should carry our tablets in front of us.
But I grew up in my formative years were sort of 1990s. I was born in 79, but you know, kind of my early adulthood, teenage years in the 1990s. And for a long time, you know, I have lived through, there's been financial crisis and so much war, you know, and wanting, all the time wanting change, but it just seeming so much resistance to that. And so difficult to even, you know, move the dial an inch. And now it's like the floodgates are open, and I think they burst. And it is, I think, that culmination of what you're really talking about, that people are frustrated with, because we're kind of being maneuvered to live in ways that really don't resonate with us, you know. And even though it is unsettling to try to reimagine and then remake the world in a form that is more in alignment with, you know, as you say, our heart center, we're going to work it out. People are already working it out, you know. And
it's going to take a bit of time, though. You know, that's the thing is you've got people who completely immerse into it, and we're ready and we're part of it, and we're busy steering this new ship, not knowing where we're going. There's no map. We're just trusting and allowing and going with the flow because it feels right at our core. And you've got other people that are fighting it. I bring up this book virtually in every show of Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson, MD. And it's about two mice and two men around the cheese, and one day the cheese is gone, and it's the different reactions. And what we're seeing now are the different reactions. You know, Hem and Ha. You know, Hem is, give me back my cheese, I'm going to sue someone. Ha is kind of chasing their tail for a while and going, I just don't know what to do, until eventually, well, I've got to do something. And Sniffy and Scurry have already sniffed out and scurried around to look for more cheese. And so I think we're in that disruption right now of realizing the change is here and you've got to change with it. And, you know, and it's just find that strength and courage, mate, and get out and do it. And your Hems who want to sue someone or kill someone or this or that to give me back are really pitchforking at the present moment, because they want back the old, but that old system has already been deleted and they don't even realize it.
Yeah, that's a great little analogy, the different reactions to the same event, you know. I had, you know, talking about archetypes as well, and I think there's a huge energy of oppression and oppress in the
Yeah.
air, you know, that is coming up for resolution. And I can remember the first time I read the story of Lilith and Adam. So Lilith was supposedly Adam's first wife in Jewish folklore and Jewish mythology. And they have what they call midrash, which is an interpretation of Jewish texts. And they wrote about how she said, a particular rabbi wrote about how she said, when the time came to procreate, and Adam said, lie on the bottom. And she said to him, why do I have to lie on the bottom? And I remember thinking, ooh.
Yes.
It's the first
How many thousands of years have we been doing that?
Story, you know, the first story, the
Yes.
first disagreement, you know, was about power.
Yes.
And who has to serve who, you know.
Right.
So it's not surprising that this is kind of, this energy is so rocks people when it comes up for resolution, because it is the oldest wound and the oldest problem, you know. And I really feel inspired that you know, on some level, even if it looks like you know, chaos, which not the chaos looks bad, but on some level we have evolved to a point where we're ready to reckon with those questions, you know.
Yes.
Which is just amazing.
And about goddamn time,
Yes.
you know. And, you know, people want to be in control all the time. And we realize that we have more control when we have no control.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
You know, you have more control of how to react to something if you're willing to react to what is in front of you instead of dictating how everything should be. We know the people in this transition that are the most scared of those that are giving up control.
Yeah.
And we also know that for so long, especially in media, politics, and other regimes, religion, there has been this control factor. And how do you control the masses? Keep them in fear.
Yeah.
So they won't think for themselves, they won't decide for themselves, they will not stray. And we're looking at this right now because of this wonderful gift, the internet, which has opened up our worlds, and where we can communicate with people and we can see what is right and wrong. And we're saying, no, mate, you're not going to pull my strings anymore. Snip, snip, snip. Whether I make right decisions or wrong decisions, I'm going to make my own decisions.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think that can be very fragmenting, you know, for people who, well, I mean, on some level, we like a coherent narrative about the broader society. You know, we're all, you know, watching the same thing and agreeing with what the appropriate reaction is. And it's soothing and reassuring. And as you say, it kind of instills that idea about we are part of a system that, you know, is controlled in some respects. But I think the coherent narrative is breaking down because people have such polarized views, you know. And, you know, the other thing I think we really need to remember, I mean, the other card I think about for 2020 is temperance, you know, which is about enlightened balance, you know, and to really rediscover tolerance for other people's views. You know, there really is, I am finding a hugely aggressive kind of language used on social media, you know, against people who have, you know, just different views. And I mean, I'm very old school, and I kind of think that freedom of speech is one of those very fundamental, you know.
As long as it's not harming someone or isn't derogatory, I mean, I had a gentleman on this morning who is a fervent Christian, who is a Trump supporter. But, you know, he was speaking to the millennials, and he was speaking, and a lot of the things that he was speaking to, I completely agree. But, you know, his point of view, the Christianity is going to be the one to fix it. From, you know, my point of view, the universal energy of which we are all made out of is already fixing it. And if we can get the human self out of the way, just comply. We're all wanting the same thing. We're all looking to need the same thing, but we're going to combat it from a different core belief. And it's not
Yes.
to look at, I don't agree 100% with all his beliefs and the way he does. It's not my practice, but I respect it as his. And he's opened the door to conversation with other people that aren't
Yes.
from his flock. And I
Yeah.
commend that, because that's how we're going to understand each other. You know,
Yes.
we
Yeah.
don't want this word divide anymore. We're sick of
Yeah.
it. We don't want
Yes.
competition anymore. We want collaboration. We want
Yeah.
cohesiveness. We want
Yeah.
compassion. We want people to
Yes.
come from the heart. We want them to lift our spirits. We want to build our village where we are
Yes.
all there
Yeah.
supporting one another. And we just don't want this segregation anymore. It's been there for so long, we're left empty. Our hearts, souls, and spirits are broken because of it.
Yeah. And I think, well done you for holding that space, because, and allowing that platform. And I think if you look at, I don't know if any of your listeners listen to the likes of Joe Rogan, he also has that capacity to allow for a broad spectrum of dialogue,
Yes.
and through dialogue, that is exactly what you're saying. I think you do realize that we're not that different,
Right.
That we really, at the core, most people are looking for the same. And that's why the Major Arcana cards resonate so universally, because the things that drive people, meaning, purpose, love, relationship, talent, they're also universal, and our needs are
simple,
so much
really.
Well,
they're simple.
Yeah, to be seen, to be feel valued, to not feel humiliated by the world. Like, they're very universal things. And, I think with platforms like yours, where you allow more and more space for people to express themselves, and then for the revelation that we're also similar to surface,
right.
It's going to be really a healing thing. Because division has rule.
Right. I mean, I look at life as a buffet, a smorgasbord. And everybody's bringing their dish to the table like a potluck, right? But it doesn't mean you're going to eat every dish.
No,
right?
No.
But it means that you respect the fact that that dish was brought to the table in goodwill and good heart, and you're going to eat what you like, and you may dabble and try something else and go, oh, I've never tried this before, this is really interesting. Or you try it and you go, not my cup of tea. But if you're not willing to try and listen and learn, it doesn't mean I can disagree with you, but where does hate come into it?
Yes.
Where's this I've got to hate you because you may think differently from me? Right? I totally disagree with the guy that is a Trump follower and his reasons behind it, because he even talks the fact that he's not a moral person. But we'll still vote with him on different things. And it's like, for me, that is one of the most important things. How you treat other people is the first and foremost component for me. And but in listening to other people and what they deem is important, and opening up each other's eyes, that is really, really important for us to find a synergy of our energies and not a clash of the mind.
Yeah, synergy is such a great word, isn't it?
It's lovely.
I think as well that, one of the archetypal themes that we're reckoning with is oppression, and the other is polarity.
Yeah.
We can go around the mulberry bush again. Like, how many times are we going to go around, with a different us and them, a different war to wage. It's the same story. And I think everybody's exhausted.
Where's it got us?
Where's it got us?
Thousands of years of conflict, where has it got us? When we step into feeding people, the seeding and the watering and the nurturing of innovation, of creativity, of possibilities, of allowing people to grow in and bloom into what they're meant to bloom into, imagine what kind of world we could have. But it is not me or them. It's not about right or wrong. It's about allowing each flower to come in the garden. Do you go and look at the garden and go, oh no, that flower doesn't belong, move it? It belongs in that garden.
Yeah, and I think because we've lived under that umbrella for so long, that it's become a reflexive response, you know, not just even on the broader political
Right.
where, you know, it's easy to identify the, you know, who's the good guys and the bad guys, but I think it's almost a reflexive response in conversation now.
Yes.
You know, it's just people want to define themselves as right by making someone else wrong,
right.
You know, and it's not it is momentarily emotionally rewarding because you think, oh, I feel great, I'm right, but it is not representative of a long-term strategy for living in harmony, you know.
I'm going to tell a little story. I live with a wonderful, almost 87-year-old. She still drives. She would still work if she could work right now. She's got more energy than I have. She's just, you know, phenomenal. She lots of sugar, lots of vinegar, lots of salt, but you know, all the things we're told not to, she does, and there she is, still the every rudder bunny. But it's interesting because she will constantly make this dessert that her mum made, and I find it delicious every time she criticizes it because it's not as good as her mum's. And I kept saying to her, I'm not eating your mother's dessert. I'm eating your dessert and I find it delicious, but no, it's not like my mum's. And I think this is the thing, is why can't we take onus of what we're creating, and why are we constantly comparing? If it pleases people, isn't that all that matters? Rather than, well, it's not as good as, you know?
That reminds me of an almost very similar story. My own grandmother is 97.
Wow.
And she's a fantastic woman and a good friend. And I was visiting her with my mother. We had a brief kind of moment in the middle of the lockdowns where we were allowed to go and sit together, you know, not with all the distance, and we were talking, and my mother is 71, and she was complaining about her hair, which is such a, you know, women complain about their hair,
right?
But you know, and my grandmother said, "Oh, Chris, you always grizzle about your hair, but if it was something else, you wouldn't like it. You know, it's just grizzle, grizzle, grizzle." And I feel like, it's such a fantastic word.
I love that, grizzle, grizzle, grizzle.
And it's so true, you know, this kind of, you know, and I think, you know, and even if it's only about small things, but you can actually put that, we're so, I think, burdened and beaten down by carrying these very heavy,
pressure. Everything is, we as a society have been dictating for so long of how humanity should be. From the moment we're born, you should, you will, you know, you have to. And it's like, well, where's my choice? And you don't have a choice. You've just got to listen to what I have to say. And that bucking of our nature of free will, but I'd like to make my own choice. I'd like to investigate myself. I would like to have an opinion. And for so long it's been suppressed and suppressed and suppressed. And it's kind of got choked up in people's throats. And, you know, and maybe this is why the virus is kind of a lung type, you know, thing of that voice that needs to be said. And we're bursting at the seams right now saying, enough. Can somebody hear me and what I'm saying? You know, like truly listen to what I am saying, not hearing what you want to reply with.
Yeah. You know, that also echoes, I think, there is a yearning for a meaningful journey, you know, and like when you look at the Major Arcana, the life journey, the soul journey is profoundly meaningful. You know, you grapple with all of these different energies, you know, the devil and hope and, you know, motivation and all of these different archetypes that you grapple with, but your journey is meaningful, you know, and you're entitled to take it, and you're entitled to grow and stumble and figure things out and change your mind and develop new insights. And I feel like sometimes in the environment that we're in now, we deny people a meaningful journey. You know, you have to have arrived at the right opinion, at the, you know,
arrived at
arrive there and stay there, you know, and don't let your experiences keep evolving you forward, you know. So there's a lot that's changing, you know, and hopefully I think that, you know, living through this tower moment and, you know, trying to be the temperance card and balance, we are inviting back in some really old soulful ideas, like communicating, building an evolved society, having a meaningful journey, all of those things, which without those things, I mean, what are we doing here?
Right. You know, one of the pledges I have, I'm echoing back there, of doing these shows, and I've done about 2,000 of them myself, and I would say, and I've got a fruit fly that's trying to attack me here. You know, a common theme is people who have been knocked down and having to get back up. And some people, it could be in a real cosmic 2x4. I mean, they've really had to face it. But their journey was to find their courage, their strength, their instrument, their abilities, their capabilities, and be willing to go through that process to become that beautiful instrument that's looking for the right orchestra to play it in. And every single one of them, no matter what they've been through, and believe me, some of them have gone through some horrific things, things that I never would ever want to kind of entertain in any shape or way. And they've said it was all worth it for who I am today, doing what I'm doing in this space and time. And that's the thing, is that if we're constantly looking for, you know, I say that we have chapters in our book of life. We can have many chapters in our book of life, and we may bring a chapter to an end and start a new chapter, but it's not our destination. It's not the end. The end is when this body goes and the spirit goes off and lives another life.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think that reminds me of a couple of things. Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, which was, you know, I mean, his argument was, if you can somehow contextualize great suffering into having a meaning for you, even if it's spiritual meaning, you know, whatever, however you can find a meaning, you can bear it, you know.
I'm being attacked by this tiny little fly. He's a little kamikaze.
I would have expected that to be the other way around in Australia. So.
Yeah, exactly. But we're in our summer right now, somewhat anyway. But yes, don't we all want to find our meaningful purpose? What is our calling? You know, what is our instrument? You know, when we find that, it's like the gentleman, the Christian I've just interviewed, you know, he can't go against his core of his beliefs.
Sure.
And, you know, these are my core beliefs, and I operate from that core. But that is, then how do I use that belief? In what meaningful way, what purposeful way that will serve humanity? And you know, in religion, they like to use the word servant. I don't like servitude, because I think you're treated like a servant, which is low life. But I think if we all understand that we're all part of service to one another, that means we're doing it willingly. I am willingly serving you. I'm willingly sharing and supporting and caring. And I think that has so much more energetic power to it.
I can't remember. I'm trying to think. If you feel I can't remember who said it, but the antidote to depression is to do something for someone else.
That's how my show started.
Really?
Way back 8 years ago, I was having a depressive state, and I know that if I shut myself in my room, that's it, I'm gone for a while. So I was out there kind of writing articles and hitting other people with problems and stepping into solution, because I could do it for them, but I couldn't do it for me. And somebody saw that and then went to my site and said, I think you should come and have a show on my network. And that's how it all started for me. And I was with her 13 months before opening up my own. But you don't know. You have no idea where things are going to come from or when. Just be willing and open and ready to receive, no matter what package they come in.
Isn't that a beautiful, I mean, it's such old sage advice to do something for someone else to
Yes.
alleviate your own pain, you know. But it's a beautiful example that you have there because of your own journey, you know, because this is bringing to so many people different perspectives and different insights, and came out of your own desire to contribute something and maybe alleviate some
Yeah, I
sadness
mean,
or
you know, when you're in
depression.
depression, you're in despair, it's really hard to kind of, you know, navigate that. There is no negotiation with it. But I've always found taking myself outside of myself and doing
Yes,
something for others has always been, you know, something that has served me in the long run as well. And it
yeah.
also is so much more gratifying, you know, it really
Yes,
is.
yeah, yeah. Actually, even as well, the devil card is so some of the devil card, the interpretations of the devil card is it is about depression, but addiction, anxiety, and
Yeah.
separation. You know, and the antidote to separation is integration. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so that bringing people together and for every almost for every you know, archetypal energy or whatever you call it, there is its counterpart, you know.
Yeah.
And I suppose in these times of isolation, the antidote to that is integration, you know.
Right.
So if we can connect even more, even if it's with fruit flies and
Yes, a little kamikaze, this one, definitely. You know, when we look to what to be grateful for, when we look to what opportunities have been presented to us, there's you know, no illusion. I still get sad times.
yeah, of course,
You know, I still get frustrated, I still get angry, but I am more equipped to deal with it now and to look
yeah,
to how empower myself to do something about it. And I think that's the thing, is that you have to be willing to go in. And of course, that's the
yes,
biggest journey of all, isn't it? Going in
yeah,
and living an inside out life and understanding that an awful lot that you're carrying around with you is the Akashic records of past souls,
yeah,
past lives, that really need to be let go of because they're holding you down in this life. And so,
yes.
you know, that clearing needs to happen on a soul cellular level too.
I like how you describe it though as you're never just one thing,
No.
you know, because even when you think about, there is no card in the deck for happiness.
Right.
There's joy and strength, you know, community. So there is all of these very positive emotions, but it's always in balance
Yeah.
with other things. You know, we're kind of always on walking a wire, you know,
Yeah.
and getting better at it, getting
Yes.
so much better
And
at it
then
all the time.
fluting it instead of walking it when you get to
That's
that
right.
stage.
That's right. Yes. Well, I think I still fall off it from time to time.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Um,
but that's most certainly the human self. You know, for my own
yes.
journey in life, I've been a spiritual being here for probably the last 2,000 years. I've got
Yeah.
memories going
Sure.
quite far back. I've
Yeah.
always been here to ignite souls and hearts. That's always been my job. I've been
Yeah.
persecuted, torn and corded and burned at the stake, and you name it, all of those things. And this lifetime was for me to come back into my soul and my spirit
Yeah.
without fear, to be able to
Yeah.
express myself without persecution. And I had to
Yeah.
wait until the later years, even before that was allowed. But I had a huge conflict with my human self because I looked at humanity and how cruel they were to one another, and how,
Mm.
you know, how it didn't matter how much you tried to help someone, they would still keep going over to the dark side, so to speak. And
Yeah.
it got very, very frustrating for me until 2012 when we had that lovely shift. And I've been
Mm.
saying that every year they've been turning the volume up on us and volume up on us and volume up on us. And now we talk fifth dimension as if it's just normal. And, you know, sixth and
Yeah.
seventh dimension isn't so far out there now. And more
Yeah.
people are opening up and ready to receive and want to ignite their heart and soul. And it's
Yeah.
becoming more of a mainstream, even in business. They are talking
Yeah.
to people, what's the heart and soul of your business? And we're
Mm.
seeing that now, which is wonderful. So sometimes you have to wait for times to catch up, and sometimes you have to be
Yes.
the leader of those times.
Absolutely. And I think it is just, I mean, there is so much information out there and people are having their own personal experiences.
Yes.
You know, for a long time, I've loved listening to different channels. You know, I don't know if people know Bashar or Wendy Kennedy, or just who bring through this galactic information that discusses really the same types of, that each star system also has archetypes that they work with, you know, that we can, you know, you look at Orion is associated with polarity, Pleiades associated with only wanting to focus on the light, you know, and these are the same challenges, you know, that we as individuals experience in our own lives, grappling with those themes and trying to inch closer to insight, and you know that and the idea that we're part of the matrix is just, I mean, the symmetry of it is just so reassuring, and I think we will just, I mean, that will become part of the common vernacular over time. You know, it still is very challenging for people.
It's still new for so many people, right? You know, and still a lot of people, I'm too guarded. I don't want to say I'm spiritual or this or that. And they're still trying. A lot of spirituality is just, it's just religion under a different view. And when you truly understand what, you know, as a interviewing scientists, where they say, well, finally through quantum physics we understand what spirituality is, and it's people living at a higher frequency, a higher hertz, and in that love vibration you cannot willingly do anyone any harm, because you're on a higher level, and they're now scientifically beginning to measure it, which also gives it more validation for certain people. But you know, I've had a lot of people who are channelers on here, and some of them, one of them is an astral traveler. It was never somebody who was here on Earth. Her name is Esther. We did channeling ascension shows together for a while, and some very interesting things coming through Athena. And then this week, same week with you, I have Tom Neglo, who channels the guy that built the Taj Mahal, that designed the Taj Mahal, and other ones as well, called Kathumi. And he has no recollection of what he says when he goes into the trance. He just goes to black, and then Kathumi comes out, and he's East Indian, and the little head goes on, hello, you know, totally different persona, and he shares what he wants to share, what perspective. And you know, that is, in the past would have been witchcraft. And in some areas, you know, some people still would like to do that, but more and more people are now going, oh, what have they got to say? I want to hear it. So, you know, it's just that lovely shift of energy of allowing, right?
And I think as well, there is, you know, I took a long journey through universities, and then I traveled a lot listening to channels and spiritual teachers. And what I found in all of that journey is the message is the same. You know, what you were talking about before, even in original Australian culture, I can put a link to, you know, or people can look him up if they're interested. His name is Yulakai Murray. He's an Indigenous Australian lawman. And he talks about, you know, when he was talking about Aboriginal prophecy and Aboriginal understanding of the spiritual understanding, he talked about the power of your thoughts creating your reality, you know, and this is a knowledge that goes back thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and it appears everywhere. You know, it comes from the channels, it comes from, you know, if you think of Viktor Frankl, he's saying the same thing in Man's Search for Meaning. You bring the meaning to your situation, you know. So it's like this knowledge that we have, but for some reason it's woo-woo.
I know. Oh, believe me, I've been woo-wooed a lot in my life, which I'm sure you have as well.
You know, it's just kind of everywhere. So, and the more you're exposed to it, the more you realize that actually is the nature of reality, and that is the nature of knowledge, you know. And I think you won't be able to keep a lid on it for that much longer.
No, I'm a knowingness person. So for me, the knowledge and the wisdom channels through to my soul, and it goes to my heart in understanding, and it then goes to my spirit in action, where my mind will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. And
Yeah.
so I have always been able to give people knowledge at a time that they need it, even though I'm not understanding necessarily what knowledge I'm giving. So I'm always saying to people, feel your thoughts, don't just think
Yes.
them.
Yeah.
And understand that knowledge in the head, you know, you have the hard drive, which is the mechanics of the body, and you have the software, the programming. And in amongst that programming is some intelligence, there's some knowledge that's really relevant. But the trouble is, we don't always have the wisdom to know how to use it. And so when you tap into the soul, heart, and spirit wisdom, will know what knowledge is relevant and prevalent to your situation at that time.
Yes.
And you know, for me, that is always being obviously my teachings. But the other interesting thing is we talk about people grounding. Well, there's several things I look at that. One, everybody's been grounding for so long. Mama Earth says, hey, I'm full. Full. I can't take it anymore. All you're doing is grounding your sorrow and your misery and everything else. And I'm cracking up, literally, right? And it's like, do something about it. And that's one of, you know, a little bit of COVID in there. The universe and Mama Earth got together and said, we've got to teach them a lesson, right? But most people will get their knowledge from the earth coming up through their feet up. I'm reversed energy. So all my energy comes in from above, and then it goes down in through my feet into the ground. And I couldn't understand that for so long. Why, you know, why everybody's talking about grounding? I can't walk barefoot on the ground because I can't take the vibration. But I am air. I am air. I love to fly. Right now I've got my fan on, which is going into my curtain to cover. I love the circulation of air all the time. And I need to be in flow. And I think we have to understand what is it where we're comfortable, where our soul is comfortable. And then really tap into that, because that's where your source of knowledge is coming from.
Yes, yeah. That's it's funny you described that. When you were talking about wisdom, I can actually feel the intensity of your vibration change, because truth is a vibration. It has a frequency.
Yes.
As does wisdom. You know, I know when I'm writing, and you know, also channeling is much more people channel every day.
Yes.
You know, in art, in conversation, and when you're talking about wisdom, I mean, that is a form of you channeling from your higher self or whatever it might be. But these are things that are so integral to how we live, you know,
and what we've denied ourselves.
Yeah. And then we kind of say, oh, no, I'm just operating only from a cerebral, you know, which is just.
And that's what the problem is. Yes. What about the rest of you?
But I mean, we're always, even if you look at people who really focus, I know from working in universities, people who are so methodical about, and, you know, insistent on only using their analytic capacity.
Right.
Emotional decision, you know, because they're not trusting themselves to tap into other sources of information. So it's just a nonsense that you can ever only operate like an analysis machine. You know, we are multidimensional. We have so many different inputs all the time from our own experiences, galactic, our feelings, other people. You know, it's just one big rolling miracle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at people like Nikola Tesla. You know, the knowledge that was given him. Imagine if we'd gone down that road at that time, we would be in a much better place. But was also too far-fetched for the human mind to be able to absorb at that time. And his technology is still being scratched on, still being understood. And but the thing is that it wasn't that he was so brilliant that he fought this all up. He just knew how to channel it and understand what it meant or what to do with it when he channeled it. And we see so many people like that. There are innovators, and you know, Leonardo, and we look at even today you know, many of our entrepreneurs, the guy, Richard
Elon Musk
Branson,
yeah.
and you know, Microsoft, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk. It wasn't the education that gave them the smarts. It was
Yes,
the
yeah.
intuition that had
Yes,
them
yeah.
use the education in the right way that became
That's
part
right.
of the process.
Well, even the people that we revere as intellectual geniuses,
Mm-hmm.
like Einstein, was, you know, and obviously he did have this incredible scientific capacity,
Yeah.
but even he said imagination is more important than knowledge, you know.
Yes. Oh,
So
100%. Yeah.
they were also not confined by these rigid categories that we think we should be confined by, you
Right.
know. And I think in the end, what happens is they just don't fit anymore.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and you kind of stop trying to fit in them because your experience of the world is sufficient to tell you that there's more than that, you know.
I'm reminded of a show when I was growing up called The Thunderbirds, and it was kind of
Yes.
puppeteering, right? So
Yes,
they
I
were,
remember
yeah,
that.
right,
Oh,
right. So they're all
yes,
kind of
yeah.
puppeteering on their rockets, and they were spies and the
Yeah.
science fiction and all of that. And I remember a controversy, even when I was young, coming out, where they thought the Thunderbirds writing people had stolen plans from, you know, intelligence because of the machinery that they were projecting in the show. We're
Oh,
on
really?
the drawing board. And that's the thing, how many movies do we look at and we go, oh, that will never be possible? I mean, you can
Yes.
you can tell a movie now by what's the size of the computer, the size of
Yeah.
the cell phone, or even if there was a cell phone. Right?
Yeah.
I used to do it by
Yeah.
hairstyles, now we do it by technology.
Yeah, I know. The capacity to keep developing that, you know, technological genius is just limitless,
Yeah, I
you
know.
know. And I sometimes think I'm quite lucky to have been on before internet and after internet, you know, because
I
I
agree.
do remember when, you know, like we would travel and we'd say, before we left, we would say, okay, we're going to meet you under the
Yes.
Eiffel Tower in 1999 on January the 1st, because there wasn't, you know,
Right.
there wasn't any other way to communicate. So,
Yeah.
and now obviously we are just, you are never offline, you know. So
And
it's
how long is it going to be before we can just send the thoughts and receive them?
I know, telepathy,
Unless retrograde is there. It sends the thoughts to the wrong person.
Well, we're already, yeah, oh my gosh. We'll have to peel the thoughts back in. Yeah, it's absolutely an unbelievable time to be alive, you know, just to see all of these things develop.
Alive and aware. You know, a lot of
aware.
people kind of are living, but are they alive and aware? I think
Yes.
if you are aware of what wonderful changes and opportunities and the uplift, I mean, I don't know about you, but I literally can feel the swell of changes happening.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and it's exciting. Now you watch the news, and it's the same old. You know, the CNN pimple into a volcanic eruption, doomsday,
Yes.
everything else. But when you get to do these kind of shows, and when you look at other people and the work that they're doing, and the people that have stepped up during COVID, and who are the heroes now, the everyday man and woman out there working the job that no one wants, and we're seeing a swell now of excitement and possibilities, and where can this go, what can we do, how can we step up? And I think if we ride that wave, we're really going to see some exciting things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm just thinking it's that nice balance between, so we're talking about really the new frontier, you know, but as part, you know, inside that venture into the new frontier are the old archetypes, you know. It is that, so when we are trying to make this transition, feeling afraid of how we're going to be received, feeling, you know, anxious about change, they're all very human responses, you know, to such an amazingly transformative time. And I like to encourage people to speak up and speak out, you know, about who you really are at this time, because there is community and there is solidarity, and we really do need to have people come forward and be brave enough to say, to speak the world that they imagine into reality.
Yeah. Would you suggest that people actually do their Akashic records and kind of release past lifetimes that are still clinging on?
Look, I think everybody's journey becomes irresistible to them. You know, I've worked at different modalities. I've found different teachers. I've gone through different processes, and they've been perfect for me at the perfect time, and it never ends. You know?
Right. Yes.
So you're always uncovering. That is what is unbelievable about the journey on the new frontier, is you're always uncovering more, and then you're ready for more. You know, and that is really, truly, I think, a thrilling thing.
We're our own archaeological dig.
Yes, I know.
What ancients are lying within us.
Absolutely, you know, and what you find in your own, you know, back catalogue of experience, and or whatever you want to, however you want to describe your multidimensional self, is always a revelation. I think, you know, it's always a revelation, and you can't learn anything about yourself that is not only going to make you a more insightful, more wise version of yourself. So any type of journeying into self-exploration, I mean, that's what the old mystics always really, you know, journey is in.
Yes,
you know?
always.
So always in. That's the hermit card, you know, that's what people go on pilgrimages for all through history, you know, is because the journey is in. And to take that journey is one of the privileges of being a human being. You know, that you have this private voyage that you can make to yourself, you know, which is, I would encourage anybody, whether it's Akashic records or, you know, galactic connections or whatever it is that you are drawn towards, do it. You know?
Yes, I mean, I've done a few, and I know I've still got somebody who's going to do another Akashic record on me, because it keeps revealing some past lives, and it goes, okay, I don't mind that one, but you know, like one of them apparently I signed 50 lifetimes ago was the vow of poverty. Well, I can get rid of that one, thank you. You know, we're living in 2020. Have you seen how expensive it is? You know, that poverty one can go right now. You know?
Yeah, sure.
But I think it's addressing kind of what's right in front of us, and I think looking, you know, like we talked about. I asked if you had done August yet, which is too yearly, of the, you know, of the tarot, of looking at what the message is, and you're saying it's too soon. Normally you'd be able to, but right now with the changes that are constantly going on, but I look forward to that one coming up. But you know, I think that's what we're in right now. In many ways, we're in a little bit of a slow tornado. And it's gathering up, and that's hard to kind of pinpoint because it's swirling around so much. So all I think the undercurrent message is accept the change, be a part of the change, understand the change is good.
Yes, absolutely. You know, like, and I think I did do some reading at the beginning of 2020, and I was really like, this is the year, you know, and it's not over yet.
We're already halfway through.
Through it, and I know people are feeling that kind of change, chaos fatigue, you know. But really, I think you need to be that lighthouse in yourself, you know, and just, you know, as you're saying, be in the eye of the storm, and you know, because if you allow yourself to get attached to every single thing that is blowing around you, you know, you will just be blown away, you know. So
you're most certainly going to get swirl sick, you know.
So really just trying to find the eye of your storm, you know. And of course, it's going to be, that's where we started with cycles, and now we're talking in tornadoes. But I think it is that, you know, and you can't help it, of course, you just get swept up for a little, you know, but I think there is more to come. And I think there is one other thing, not COVID related, but I'm kind of, I keep thinking late September, early October, there's some other thing, that might.
Good or bad?
Well, I mean, it's all good, isn't it?
Well, yes, but let's just say, we don't need another bad to make it good. We actually need a little more push in the good sector.
I would say surprising,
Okay.
surprising. Yeah, some other surprising thing that I feel blindsided a little bit, like I can't see it yet.
Right.
It's the same energy, or I knew there was so much happening this year, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. But
right.
I'm feeling like it's something that we can't see yet. It's not on the table yet, you know? And part of this transformation, and I think as we've been saying today, COVID got us to a place I don't think we would have been able to get to without it.
Right. Yeah. I was told that something was coming this year that was going to unite the world and put everybody on the same playing field, but I didn't know what it was. And of course, only a pandemic really could. Right, unless it was a galactic catastrophe. And the fact that every country is going through this, and it's really been revealing, but what it has been is invitational. Again, while I do in every show, you're busy pointing fingers at everything else. There's three back at you. What are you doing about it? And look to the isolation time as a gift to go in and know yourself and review and renew and look to where you want to go and what are you going to do when you can to go that way, and also how to reach out to other people. And it's. Yes, there are many deaths which are horrible, but those deaths may have happened on the road or in any other ways. Because we weren't on the road, they've happened somewhere else. It's part of the balance of nature to have life and death, is that for some people being taken away before their time. But again, we sign a contract when we come here to kind of do what we're here to do, and sometimes it's a short contract. We don't know that, but what are we going to do with the gift that we've been given right now? And with all the movements that are out there, and let's keep those movements going in the right direction. Leave the hate at the door. Leave the protesting violently at the door. Let's have that moment of conversation, because what it's doing right now with conversation is keeping the movement alive and moving in the right direction. And that's the only way we're going to have that change.
Yeah. And I just like that you said, leave the hate at the door, because at the root of all of the mystical traditions and all of the spiritual cultures that I've investigated, words create your reality.
Yes.
If you hate,
what you feed will grow. What you will water will grow. So, do you really want the hate zone?
That's right. And as we have this opportunity to build something different, to try and it's a real discipline, to try and speak with love and tolerance and kindness and acceptance, and to, even when you're feeling frazzled and frayed and like, I can't take another more,
right.
To really try and do that, at least for the rest of July and August. That's what I'm trying to practice, is to speak the world that I want to be in.
Yeah. Yes, and I put out a show this week to kind of have a nothingness day, and that sometimes it's like put everything down. Your nothingness day, maybe you want to sleep all day, or you just don't want to be bothered by people. You want to go for a walk. You want to go do something. It's not about chores. It's not about have-tos. It's about what do you want to do right now that's rejuvenating for you. And I think at the present moment, with all, the chaos and the swirling and the whoosh, whoosh, whoosh all the time, we are kind of, like those machines that go around and you're leaning up against the wall. You need to just stop and take a breath now and again, right? And
Gravitrons.
Yeah. I wouldn't survive in those, boink, But the thing is find your space. Find your space to have time for yourself, to regroup. Do nothing. It's not a thinking time or reviewing or renewing or anything. It's the time just to be in nothingness And I travel to nothingness a lot, and I love it because it's just everything and nothing all at once, and it's just pure bliss. And so it's find it what it is to you and go to that space, because that's the way you're going to kind of keep your equilibrium balance and be able to kind of cope with the next whirlwind that's coming up. And I think we're going, you know, whatever's going to come to us, you know, later, I think it may be another shakeup, but I think it's going to keep our momentum growing.
That's right.
So I think it's going to be positive in a way that, you know, not necessarily any more disasters.
No.
I also think that the whole thing with COVID, especially with a few countries that are extremely slow to deal with this and have not dealt with it in the right way, it's there in its longevity, because those people aren't going to change just with 2 or 3 months. They're going to need an 18-month period for that change to set in.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And you know, I mean, we're trying to do such radical things, just, you know, to respond as a planet to something, you know, that is upending the economy and changing all social relations, and, you know, so, but I think we're doing much better than we think we are. You know, because
the economy will go in a different direction. But all the industries that we thought were important, new industries are going to come out of this, creating new jobs. I did a show where a guy was promoting a program, which is great, which is freecodecamp.org. And they're saying they need coders like crazy right now with everybody going online. And they will teach them free to do that coding, whatever level they want. They can work from home in their own time. And so, you know, always out of chaos will come opportunity, and it's just a question, and let's keep nurturing those opportunities, because I just think that it's a shift. It's a shift in where our e-commerce goes and what opportunities we have and what we need to have for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm feeling very positive about it now, Sarah.
Good.
We've got to that good feeling place.
Good. And, you know, however challenging it is, sometimes we have to be there. We have to understand there's a reason for all of this. And although you may only see the pain and the suffering and, oh my God, right now, it's just take a breath, go through it. You know, I look at wartime. How many people have gone through war for years upon years? Never knowing the next bomb that's going to hit them. Are they going to have food? Are they going to be alive tomorrow? How many months have we been doing this? 4 or 5? And your end of life there? No. You've actually been given a gift of time. So it's time to just look at what it can mean to you.
Well, also the other thing, the card that kept coming up for me when I was reading 2020 was the star, which is the hope card.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And I always like that. Is Emily Dickinson? Hope is a thing with feathers that perches on the soul and sings a song without words and never speaks at all. And I thought, oh, that's so lovely. It's a constant.
Yes. Belief, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a faith and a belief. Yeah, and you know, of course, I mean, civilizations have faced unbelievable crises and challenges, and that we always carry on in some form or another, you know, and we always find ways to be innovative, to be creative, to maintain relationships and to love and to express ourselves. And this time is no different from that perspective, you know. So to really losing hope is really, I don't even know if it's possible. I think some people in despair have moments of losing hope, but to really
I think hope is what keeps humanity alive.
That's right. That's right. Faith, hope, and love, huh?
Yeah. Yes. What we're striving for is love. And love is kindness and caring. But you can't have the kindness and caring until you have the hope. It's the first step.
Right. Yes, that's right. Yeah, that real, it's a buoyant feeling, you know, that can just
propel you in the right direction.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. We're like an old married couple. We're finishing each other's sentences.
We're in the same vibe, love. Do you have your cards in front of you?
Do I have? No, I don't. I can get them if you would like to.
Yes, I would love you just to pull a card right now, if you wouldn't mind.
Hang on. Just give me 1 second.
Okay. In the meantime, no pooch to look at? No. You know, in the meantime, it's really what we're looking at is that positive energy is trying to guide us along in the right path. And if we just go with the flow, go with the wind, and allow, we're going to get there. And let's see what the cards have to say to us and see if there is a message that we're going to have right now.
That's a good idea. I didn't even think of that. Imagine talking about the tarot cards and not having them there. So we just get one or two cards on a message going forward. Look, I've got 2 pages there, and pages are about small steps, yeah? This is the kind gesture, the earnest offering, you know, it's a very innocent, the Page of Cups is innocent, authentic, earnest, emotional actions, goodwill, you know, goodwill. And the Page of Pentacles is small new beginnings, you know, and I would see these as very hopeful for people that feel that they don't know where to start, you know, with things that, you know, and particularly this one, if you're under financial pressure, you know, if you've lost your income or employment, it can be overwhelming to think, I don't have a job, my business has collapsed, I don't know, you know, how to move forward. Small steps, because this is a new time, you know, and the energy of the pages is youthful, optimistic, and the way beginnings should be, you know, to have that kind of youth and optimism and faith that what we do will go somewhere, you know. So they're quite small cards for such big energy years. But I think in the middle of this year, that's what we kind of were saying, to, you know, find the eye of your own storm and do the things that you can do where you can, you know, be kind to people, speak cleanly and in love and faith and kindness, and do the small things that you can to start over. I think.
It's not the time for leaps and bounds, because we don't know where we would land. You know, it's almost like as we're walking, a new land is being made right before us. And if you take a leap, you're in the crevice. So just be patient and plant the seeds, or, you know, pick the flowers, or whatever the case is along the way. I feel, you know, my network is called Self-Discovery, and I think at this present moment, it is a self-discovery. It's a discovery of who you are right now, who you're meant to be in the next chapter, and where is it meant to take you. And so those small steps are going to be so revealing. So I think it's a very apropos cards, very apropos.
Yeah, absolutely. Small steps once more into the fray. Who said that?
I don't know. It's like, you know, in a galaxy far, far away.
Is it once more into the fracas or fray? I think it's Shakespeare.
It's once more, which is kind of, for a lot of people, it's once more again, you know, a new beginning again. But you've got to understand everything has its cycle. And every chapter has a beginning and end, and we're at a new chapter in life. And this chapter at the present moment is slow to start off with, because we're not quite sure where the plot is going. And so if we just, you know, go with it slowly and let it unravel and be willing to see, to feel, to hear, to be a part of it, we will see as it reveals itself. And it's really quite exciting.
Yes, yeah. And I also think the other energy of the pages is to have that youthfulness and positivity, you know, in the beginning. So because it's so easy to become cynical in these times, you know, but I think just to try and feel that positivity about this new beginning, you know, and, you know, as we step it out, like, as you said, step out onto that ground that you just hope that it appears.
Well, that's why the small steps. It's not the leap time, you know, and you cannot embrace anything new with cynicism or hate or it must be done this way. No, this is allowance time. This is allowance, and take each step in belief, in positivity, in faith. And just look at each piece of ground that is before you and ask what it needs. What is it asking of you? or what is it giving you? And if you're not paying attention to those small steps, there will be no leap. There is no quick way out of this. It's slowing us down as a human nation to pay attention to the small steps.
Yes. Yeah. What's that book? Don't sweat the small stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And, don't even sweat the big stuff right now.
Don't sweat any stuff.
It's just like, okay, I'm just going to open up my curtains and see what tomorrow brings and take it as it comes. Right?
Yes.
This isn't a time for agendas. This is a time of allowing.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I know my day is certainly defined by really rediscovering my love of coffee.
Yes. Oh, I've always had that love.
And then I sneakily going and stealing a flower or two as I'm walking the dog. I always feel a bit guilty, but I just like, if there's a lot, I take one. So they're just these small pleasures, that is still that I would never have time
getting
for.
the dog at this time. You rescued the dog, as you said, you're on the 6th floor with a dog.
Empress Belle is her name, and she's so gorgeous, but the toilet routine is not, so we're kind of up and downstairs all hours of the day or night, but she is, that's so lovely thing to have,
Oh, companionship. Yeah. Try
gorgeous.
not to be alone at this time, even if it's only something virtual.
Yes.
Do not be alone. This is not isolation of yourself. This is, one of the people I have on this week as well, Esther Schifrin. She's 82. She still plays the piano. She was in the Japanese war camp in Shanghai when she was young, and then she was a refugee in Jerusalem, and then she married somebody in South Africa and went to an isolated place, and in many ways she didn't realize she was repeating the isolation. But what she's been doing in this last the entire time of COVID is she's written a poem every single day around the COVID topic. And so she's going to be putting in a book, but we did a show on it and shared a few poems, and they're very, very good, and sometimes she'll just play music or get up and dance, and it's like what you make out of it. You may not like the ingredients. I don't know if you get that TV series Chopped. It's a cooking show, and there are 4 contestants, and they get given ridiculous things in the basket, and they've got to create something out of what it is using every single one of those things. And you look at the content sometimes and go, oh my God, impossible. Stepping into their creativity and their innovation, they come up with incredible dishes. And so that's what it is. We may not like what's in the basket right now, but let's see how creative we can be with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's always, sometimes you do have to, really mine a little bit for the nugget, but there is always something worthwhile in every experience. Nothing is ever wasted, and this is an unusual one, but of course there is magic in this experience. There is in every experience. So just to try and find it,
Yeah, that's the point. Try and find it. So this has been wonderful. We've really talked for a long time, and I know we could go on, but I guess we need to actually end this chapter right now. But you do videos all the time where you are talking to, about what the cards are saying, and of course you do monthly ones as well, and the various other ones. So how do people get hold of you? How do they watch your YouTube?
So my YouTube is Esther, The New Dreaming. My business is called The New Dreaming. And I have a website. I think my social media, I post everything on there. If you go Facebook, The New Dreaming, that you can find me on there. And I post other bits and pieces of social media on there. And I have LinkedIn accounts and different professional accounts. So, but if you Esther, The New Dreaming.
You're going to have to spell that for people of.
Oh, sorry. Ash is AIS. It's short for Aisling, which is Irish name my father gave me. Esther, ESTER, and then The New Dreaming, which is the name of my business.
Right, New Dreaming. And we're in a new dream. And, it doesn't have to be a nightmare. And it's not the dream that you thought you were going to have for yourself. But if you step into that dream, you're going into a different wonderland. Be wondrous. Be
Yeah.
wondrous about what is here and what is coming, because that
Yeah.
will give you your creativity, that will give you your hope, that will give you the ability to see what is in front of
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, that's so important, isn't it? That ability to feel awe, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes I think technology has taken that from us a little bit, you know, because we understand the mechanics of things so
Yeah.
much better, but you still can feel that if you just look up, you know,
Yeah.
at the stars, and that helps you, I think, feel safe in the universe because it's such a big place.
It is. It's really
You
cool.
know?
It's really cool. And when you unite the, the heart, soul, and spirit with the body, now you truly understand what you're here for. And it
Yeah,
is to experience. It
yeah,
is to
yeah,
explore. It
yeah,
is to become. And if
yeah,
you're willing to do that without, again, the manual or the dictation, and allow each journey, and with each journey, you're going to have a new experience and have new tools and skills that you're going to put in your backpack for the next
yeah,
chapter, for the next journey. And just be willing to explore, because that,
yes,
even if you are a person that is stagnant, you're not a wandering soul, you're stagnant, that doesn't mean become complacent. There's always
yes.
something to explore, even about your own perimeter.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's going to give me good energy today to go out into the world with wonder.
We wonder, well, be wondrous. Look at it from a child's eyes. Look at it from your dog's eyes, right? And we'll
Yes,
see life in a
emphasis.
different way. And that doesn't mean go up to a butt.
I think she looks at the dog food with more wonder than I can muster. But
But the thing, the children and the animals live in simple joy. Simple
yes,
joy. They
yes,
they seize the moment, they enjoy the moment. And if we could
yeah,
tap into that, we would actually understand what the moments mean to us. Because we're always
that's
looking for
right.
something better later. No, it's now. The gift of the present is in the now.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely. And Memphis is teaching me that all the time. Oh, she's gone to sleep now. She was playing around before, so
Until you go W, and then she's up and out and ready.
yes, yeah. That's right. That's right.
Well, thank you so much, love. It's been great having you here.
Thank you so
And
much for having me, and for your show is just fantastic. I really appreciate that you take the time to have so many wonderful guests, you know, and share them with everyone. So thank you so much.
it gives me hope and humanity to see so many people, helping us and guiding us and pushing us in the right way, because we are in this together, all of
That's
us.
right. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And to everyone else right now, that this change is more to come. It doesn't mean that there's going to be an even bigger hurricane. Even if there is, you're going to find that pocket of safety. The whole point is we're in change right now, and that change is going to take a while. And it's the invitation to change everything about your life that's not working, and to have some self-discovery about what is meant for you and who you really are, that you've denied yourself to be for so long. Take those small steps, one step in front of the other, without expectation, just in wonderment, and explore who you really are in this beautiful world, in this now, and where we're possibly going in the future. Until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows. Please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows, and you will see the incredible lineup of genres and shows that we have for you. We are here to make a difference in your life. Thank you for listening.